Hello and welcome to my January 2024 budgeting video. If you're new here, I'm Raymond, a software engineer on the track to financial independence and retiring early through saving and investing. If that's something that interests you, feel free to hit that subscribe button and follow me on my journey. But without further ado, let's get into my budget for a software engineer making $87,570 in salary. So let's start with the basics with our income, as well as our expenditures in terms of what we need, as well as what we want. We'll start with our 401k contribution. I am saving quite a bit when it comes to my 401k contribution, 35% to be exact, if I recall correctly, which is a little over $1,200 every single paycheck. This means that I save about $2,500, a little over $2,500 in my 401k every single month, and for January, I expect that to be the same. HSA is also something that I invest into. For the month of January, I am putting in about half of what I actually used to put in because I only worked half the year last year. So for January, that's going to be $262.50 for the whole month, or about $120, $130 or so every paycheck. Here's the fun part. My actual paycheck, or what I actually take home after taxes, after my 401k contributions, after my HSA, and after some other stuff that they take out, primarily health insurance. I get paid every month $3,473.75, or somewhere in that ballpark. Because we're jumping into 2024, I don't know exactly how much I'm going to take home just yet, and that's something that I'm going to figure out during this month. My estimations so far have been pretty solid though, so I don't expect this to change too much, but if that does, I'll definitely update the budget to reflect that. Diving into the needs, I pay in total for rent, insurance, and utilities about $1,700 a month. This includes $1,500 or so of base rent, along with some other fees attached to it, renter's insurance, as well as my utilities for both gas and electric and water. I don't have gas in my apartment. I've never actually hit this, but I'm a little bit concerned because this January is the start of another fee that I'm going to have to pay within this bucket here, and that is internet. So I actually overpaid for my internet at the start of my stay here because I work for AT&T and I have employee discounts. So I had credit for my internet service for the past 6 months or so. This is no longer the case, and I expect that they will start charging me for internet starting in January. So I might actually end up hitting this limit. We'll wait and see whether or not I actually do. Transit is fairly low, $60, and this is all really thanks to the fact that I live car-free somehow in the city of Dallas. It's primarily a location thing. I am able to do this because I live fairly close to where I work. I live very close to reliable public transit, and all of this combined, as well as having friends who are able to take me occasionally to the northern suburbs to pick up some other things or just to hang out, that allows me to keep my transit budget to about $60 if I have to actually commute. Groceries is one of my larger items, and actually is, if I recall correctly, my largest item outside of rent. I pay about $400 in terms of groceries every single month, and that breaks down to about $60 to $80 every week, on average at least. I've gone above this budget a couple of times before, but I wouldn't say that it's common for me to do so. $400 I would say is a pretty flexible, pretty big budget for someone who's just living on their own, but it's been very nice to just be able to pick out whatever I need and oftentimes whatever I want really, and not have to worry too much about going over budget with $400 every single month for my grocery bills. Next, let's talk about some of the temporary funds that I have going on. So I'm currently enrolled in a master's program, the online master's program of computer science at Georgia Tech. And this semester, they're charging money, as they do every semester, which is about $600 for one course or 3 credit hours, I believe, worth of tuition. as well as some unfortunate hospital bills that I had back in September, I want to say, or August of last year. So that's something that I'm still paying back over time. Finally, there's also the fact that my student loans are starting to come in and I had to start paying back my student loans. And so that's going to add an additional charge for my temporary funds. I end up budgeting for these after the money that I spend on everything else. There's some additional categories here which I have intentionally labeled as zero because I don't expect to actually spend money in any of these buckets. That includes coffee. I used to have a subscription to that one coffee bean company, but I'm currently on hold for that because I have a surplus. But that might end up coming back. We'll see. Travel is an interesting one. I'm going to be spending quite a bit of money because I'm going to be on vacation in Vegas for CES, but I don't know exactly how much I'm going to spend there. So the travel ticket line item is going to be way out of proportion. But we'll see where that ends up, and I'll probably make a video on that. And if you're interested in a video like that, feel free to let me know in the comments section down below. Eating out, I limit myself to $50 every single month for eating out. This doesn't go very far in today's economy, but I've managed to make it work most of the time. I've only gone above budget a couple of times, and in all of those situations, they've been only above by maybe $10 or $20. I haven't been blowing my budget on this, thankfully, because eating out is just so expensive. But I've been pretty happy to enjoy the moments that I do have to eat out. Finally, miscellaneous sort of just general fun money. I allocate about $200 every single month. This has been the category that's been blown out of proportion the most, but I generally try to keep it to $200 every single month. This is basically money that I can throw towards buying anything that I really want, and most of that is just going to hobbies or some other larger purchases. Currently, I'm anticipating to be spending at least $60 for some replacement parts for my rice cooker, but there are also some other things that I imagine down the line that are going to add onto that splurge fund at the end. Next, let's talk about where the money goes after I earn it and after I spend some of it. There are a couple of funds that I need to invest in, or not invest in, but put money into every single month. And that's going to be things like hospital bills, student loans, and my tuition for my master's program. Those are all pretty fixed and pretty standard. I'm going to be spending $161.75 across 6 months for my online master's program, and that adds up, or 4 or 5 months actually, for around $650. That's my tuition every single semester roughly. Student loan debt, I pay about $19. Well, I pay exactly $19 every month so far. That's going up in 2 years' time, but right now I'm just paying the minimum on that. I might make a video on that. I've already made a TikTok on that a while back, but it's not too much of a big deal for me. But $19 a month, basically a subscription to college, I guess. And finally, hospital bills, the most unfortunate one, but I do pay $158.07 for my hospital bills. I had an unfortunate run-in a couple months back. Thankfully, everything seemed to be okay, so I'm back on track. But unfortunately, the hospital bills still remain, and so I'm just paying them off over time. They don't charge interest. I'm not in a rush to pay them off, especially in an environment where I can get such a high interest rate on my money in a high yield savings account. I allocate $250 every single month towards travel, and I expect to be traveling once or twice internationally every single year. This is a fairly lean budget to be doing international travel on, and I do admit that that is a very, very lean budget, but I've been able to make it work multiple times so far, so I'm fairly confident that this will still hold out unless something drastic changes. Of course, I also have to worry about my number of paid days off if I really want to travel, so that also ends up making the travel fund a little bit larger when I actually do end up planning for international travel. This is just an empty category. Rollover splurge is just an empty category. If I'm saving up for something, say a bigger purchase, that's maybe like $1,000, like a replacement phone, I would be putting any money that I don't spend in my splurge every single month into this ticket item right here. Credit card annual fees. This is a weird category, and I might make a video on this separately as well. I individually budget to have money to put towards my credit card annual fees because they're pretty high. I have quite a few credit cards that do require an annual fee, and some of them do command quite a hefty annual fee. So I make an effort to actually budget for this and make sure that I have enough money when that time comes. Finally, money that goes into my Roth IRA. This is standing in for the Invest the Difference ticket item right now because I want to fill up my Roth IRA before I even consider filling up any additional money into my brokerage account. This is also helped by some money that I received from my parents previously, and this I am hoping to have this filled hopefully by June around of 2024. But that is my budget for 2024 for the month of January. Let me know what y'all think, and let me know if there are any items that you think that you would change, or let me know about your January budgets, especially if you're someone that works in tech. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.